Hey, what's up, Instagram? This is Mr. Benja here with my first little quick bit for 2021. I want to start doing a lot more of these little things just because I have thoughts in my head and I want to get them out quickly. Try to keep them short and under 5 minutes just so you can get a little dose of this and keep going. Anyway, hope you're having a good 2021. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. So, a long time ago, back in Florida, I used to drink sodas all the time. It was just a thing to do. You'd have sodas for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and as a late night sip. So there was Coca-Cola, Sprite, um, Dr. Pepper, Mountain Dew, all the above. It was what we drank. It was a good time. It was South Georgia, North Florida area. So it was the thing to do. But at some point, I decided, you know what, I can do better than this. I'm going to stop drinking sodas. It happened after I got to California because in California, you kind of get the vibe of, shit, I should be drinking better. I should be doing better with myself. So that's when it happened. How it happened is a different story. I basically started having three different pillars of action that I take. I don't want to call them steps because you don't necessarily need to go in order with these. So I started asking myself these things whenever I wanted to change a habit. Um, I started asking myself, how can I adjust my desires, my actual desires? What do I want? What do I not want? Um, if you're thinking about any type of habit that you're involved in, it's a desire to do something for whatever reason because you think you're going to get something out of it. So you have to adjust those desires. I'll get to how I did that in a bit. You also have to go in phases. There's this idea that sometimes you can just be all or nothing, where it's like, hey, I'm just gonna tough it out. I'm suddenly gonna stop smoking. I'm suddenly going to stop, you know, eating pizza for breakfast. I'm suddenly going to stop drinking. I'm suddenly going to, and it usually doesn't work like that in very sudden cases. Yes, there are situations where you just decide to stop doing something or decide to start doing something and it clicks, but that's not always the case. So you go in phases. And thirdly, set boundaries you're okay with. You have to be okay with what you're doing, otherwise, it's not going to stick. So now that you have the three, I'm going to explain to you how I did that in terms of stopping my Coke habit. In the South, we call everything carbonated a Coke. So I didn't mean I had a Coke habit. You know what I mean? Coca-Cola. All right. So to adjust my desires for sodas, that one was the first that I started with. When I drank sodas, Coca-Cola in particular, very particular Coca-Cola, I found something I could start with. And Coca-Cola was the thing because when I drank Coca-Cola, I felt there's this weird film that it leaves on your teeth, or at least mine, at least. And it's not just sugar because I didn't get it from Mountain Dew or Dr. Pepper. It was specifically Coca-Cola. There's this weird little film that it left you drank three or four of those and you got this little taste in your mouth that just sits there. So I didn't like that, but in the past I would just go brush my teeth and be like whatever. But to actually adjust my desires, I focused on that one negative thing about Coca-Cola and said, you know what? I think that feeling in my mouth after drinking Coca-Cola is disgusting. I never want to experience that again. That's gross. I don't need that. So my first phase that I decided to step into was I'm not going to drink Coca-Cola specifically because of the film it leaves in my mouth, because of that weird taste. Now, I was still drinking Dr. Pepper. I was still drinking Sprites. I was still drinking whatever else. But the fact that I was able to take that step and go in that one phase and say, boom, phase one, Coca-Cola, and that nasty film, that nasty aftertaste is just gone. That was the first phase that I decided to move with. So now I had a situation where at any given outing or event, they'd say, hey, would you like something to drink? I'm like, yeah, send me a Coke. What kind? A Sprite. That's another Southern thing. As I said, it's always Coke. So I would stop drinking Coca-Cola. That was easy enough. And once I got used to not drinking Coca-Cola, it became easier to not drink Sprites, and then easier not to drink Dr. Pepper, easier not to drink Mountain Dew. And I was cool with that. So these were some of how I was setting up some of the phases in my head. I didn't have this massively planned out on a whiteboard or anything, but it was just how things were transpiring, things were going. And I was also setting boundaries I was okay with. The boundaries were what, I don't need to do this one thing, which is the Coca-Cola. That was the boundary condition. As long as I was drinking something that wasn't Coca-Cola, I was good. I can't remember if Pepsi had that same vibe or not, but I just decided to stop drinking cola drinks, and Pepsi just happened to go along with that. Anyway, that was a boundary I could live with. And once I got okay with that boundary, then I was able to extend the boundary even further. And I extended it to, I don't want to have a colorful tongue, So if I'm drinking something like Faygo or, Fanta or, whatever grape sodas, you'd end up with the food coloring left in your mouth, and you'd have a purple tongue or an orange tongue or whatever, going around with, purple lips looking like, Saturday Night Disco. I didn't like that either. So that was, another phase. I was like, look, if it's going to give me this crazy coloring in my mouth, I don't need it. I can go for something else. So, and that's just a series of steps. And I kept on moving like this, where I went through the aftertaste, the coloring, one by one. I said, these are the things I don't like about it. Now, as I said, you also have to adjust your desires. In this, I'm taking something I don't like, the aftertaste, the food, the coloring in the mouth or whatever, and I'm also getting towards something that I do like, which is I wanted to be, I didn't want my stomach feeling funny because of all this carbonation and crap in my stomach. I didn't like the jitteriness from sugars. So, can I keep a more even keel? You have to balance what you don't want with what you do want. So there was always that look of adjusting my desires toward, I want to burn cleaner. I want to be able to, run without breathing hard. And I want to be very calm throughout the day and not have these ups and downs that these drinks were giving me. So this is all playing together, the adjustment of desires, the going in phases, and the setting boundaries you're okay with. So this is all happening at the same time. So that's why I didn't want to put them in, number one, do this, number two, do that, and number three, do this. These all came at once, just in simultaneously, not all at once, but simultaneously. So over time, I kept adjusting my desires. I kept moving the phases forward. So the next phase would be this, next phase would be that. And I kept setting boundaries I was okay with, where it's like, well, if you really need a carbonated drink, only have it on Saturdays when you're out with your friends and you're drinking and eating pizza or whatever. And I'm setting different boundaries as well. So those are the three that I basically went with, adjusting my desires, going in phases, and setting boundaries I was okay with. As I said, I want to keep these short for Instagram, so I'm going to cut it off pretty soon here. But if you like stuff like this, I can go into much more depth and do longer versions of these, maybe a half hour or an hour for the ADD experience. But that's going to do it for this one. Let me know if this helped you out at all. Put a comment below. Subscribe to the ADD experience. You can find the link for that in the bio. And that's going to do it for now. Thanks for being here.